Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I apologize for the video quality here, but my standard video wasn't in focus and looks terrible, so hopefully this will do for you. Today I want to talk about my favorite video game series. It's a question I've had a few times. I want to let you know about some of my favorite series throughout the history of gaming. Stuff from Sony, stuff from Nintendo. Sorry, Xbox fans, nothing on here from you guys, but today we're going to talk about my favorite series, and we are kicking things off with one of my favorite tactical strategy series of all time, Fire Emblem. This one was really hard for me to pick, actually, because I do love tactical strategy stuff, and it was really between Advance Wars and Fire Emblem, because, I mean, those are the best two, let's be honest here, but when I had to stop and really look at it, and I had to really think about the ones that has given me the most satisfaction over the years, it does net out to be Fire Emblem. Whether it's the classic old-school 8-bit ones that we got the re-release on the Switch recently, all the way up to Three Houses today, these are just games that I love. They're full of memorable characters, and I think that's really what puts it over the top when compared to Advance Wars, because Advance Wars does have incredible COs and they have great personalities, but the characters in Fire Emblem, each one of them has a personality, and each one of them makes an impact on the story overall, and that's what pushes that one over the top of Advance Wars for me. I mean, it doesn't hurt the fantasy setting either. Love Fire Emblem, fantastic series, one of the greatest of all time, and something that I play constantly. I've played it all the way back, starting on the GBA when I first discovered the series, all the way to today on the Switch, but most frequently on the 3DS, actually. That's probably where my favorite Fire Emblem games are.
And hope Black Cat is still there.
All right, moving things up to a more modern series now, and this one might get some eyebrows raised just because it's such a new series, and there's only really been like 1.5 games in it, so can I even really count it as a series? But I'm gonna, just because I'm really excited for the sequel that's coming out in a couple of weeks, and that's Sony's Spider-Man series. Now, I can look back to previous entries from the Spider-Man franchise at stuff like Web of Shadows, or Amazing Spider-Man, or Ultimate Spider-Man, something like that, and I enjoyed all of those. I really enjoyed the PS1 entries as well, but the one that released on the PS4, and Miles Morales, of course, on the PS5, and the remastered version of the PS4 version on the PS5, are amazing. There's nothing that has made me feel quite like I am a superhero like the Spider-Man game. I'm super excited for the sequel, really interested to see what they do for Wolverine as well. I think that could be an amazing, amazing franchise, and I'm just excited for it. I love superheroes, and this is the closest I've ever felt to being one. I really could have just said Street Fighter here, and that would have been enough. Like, there's not a single person that would have said, no, you know what, I don't think Street Fighter should qualify. But I want to break it down a little bit further, because as much as I love the Street Fighter series, I love Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, 4, 5, 6, not 1. The original Street Fighter in the arcade is terrible. But for me, the best Street Fighter is, and I've said this a million times, you guys are probably tired of hearing this at this point, but for me, the best Street Fighter series is the Street Fighter Alpha series. This, to me, is where Street Fighter became fully realized. This is where the over-the-top animations, the over-the-top on-screen effects came into play, where we got super moves, where we got memorable characters, where we had the series advance forward and become something truly special. You can't go wrong with any Street Fighter game, except the first one. But Street Fighter Alpha, that entire series for me, is the way to go. I came to the Fallout series late. I hadn't actually played the original first two that came out on PC back in the day. I didn't ever play it until Fallout 3 came out, and it's interesting to me that this is the one that makes the cut over the Elder Scrolls. So when you look at them side by side, Fallout is essentially, especially the modern games, a first-person shooter. It's granted, it's a first-person shooter with style, so it's got bonus points there, but it's up against a fantasy series, a high fantasy series in the Elder Scrolls series, and for me, that's usually where I go, but there is so much style in Fallout, in such a sense of world building there that is so impressive to me, and it just clicks. I have not played a Fallout game that I dislike. Like, even 76, I will admit, I haven't played it since initial launch, but my friend Corey plays it, and I've watched him play, and there's some incredible stuff happening in that game as well. Like, they put a Twisty Treat building in there. My grandfather made those buildings, and it's in the game now. I think that's incredible. Look, I could wax nostalgically here for hours about the Mario series, but Let's just make this really fast. He's got 2D platformers on lockdown. He has 3D platformers on lockdown. He has RPGs on lockdown. He has sports games on lockdown. He has party games on lockdown. He has kart racing on lockdown. Mario rules. I remember renting Final Fantasy from Blockbuster Video when I was on vacation at my grandparents' house in Cape Coral, Florida. And I was so excited to try it because this was an RPG, and I knew all about RPGs at this point. I had played Dragon Warrior. Of course I knew about RPGs. I was not prepared for what I got with Final Fantasy. It was so much more advanced than what I had experienced with Dragon Warrior. The characters were more interesting. The classes were fascinating. The enemies were cooler. The storyline was amazing. Fighting Garland, going to the Chaos Shrine, going to all the different elemental caves and finding the crystals. It just captivated me. And I have loved nearly every Final Fantasy game since. When the Pixel remasters got announced, I was excited because it was an opportunity to play classic games that I loved again. I've enjoyed playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake, seeing HD remasters of things like Final Fantasy VIII, 9, 10, 10-2, playing Final Fantasy XII The Zodiac Age on the Switch, jumping all the way up to 13, which gets a very bad rap, and then finally Final Fantasy 15, and I'm really looking forward to playing Final Fantasy 16 down the road. It's an amazing series. I've loved Ratchet & Clank since the first time I played it. I was captivated by the characters, captivated by the world design, and absolutely loved each and every aspect of that game. Whether it was the combat, the humor, the phenomenal voice acting, the music, everything about that game just worked for me. And every release in the mainline Ratchet & Clank series has been wonderful. Nothing compares to Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Like, that's next level. That's transcendent game design. It's something that I think we're going to look back on in about 10 years and realize exactly how spoiled we are because of that game, because of how unbelievably well made it is. It's an unbelievable series that has done so much for 3D platformers and just redefined the genre by not doing anything crazy, but just by solidifying fundamentals and making sure that the games are fun. It's not a trick. It's nothing that's crazy. It's just a fun series. And it shows that when series lean into making something that is just purely fun, they're going to be successful. I mean, of course, Mega Man is on this list. I have a Mega Man shrine in my game room. I was amazed the first time I played a Mega Man game, which was Mega Man 2, which incidentally is my favorite Mega Man game. What a surprise. I fell in love with the Blue Bomber. I thought the game was amazing. I thought the series was incredible. I thought the gameplay was something truly unique that I hadn't experienced. It was something that gave you a choice. You didn't have to go in a particular order. You could go in any order you want. Now, granted, there was the prime path to take in every Mega Man game, but you could go at any direction you wanted to. And there hasn't been a Mega Man game that I dislike in the mainline series. Now, this will probably get some eyebrows raised, but I actually prefer the Mega Man series, the original one, to the Mega Man X series. There's something about those original games that speaks to me, and it's probably nostalgia talking, but it is one of my favorite series. It is my favorite platformer series, my favorite 2D platformer series, absolutely. I love every single game, all 11 of them. All 11 of them do something incredibly different, despite the fact that they're all basically the same thing. They all manage to do something a little bit different than the previous one. And I think that should be commended. And I do commend it. That's why I built a shrine to Mega Man in my house. He's an awesome character. I love the entire series. There isn't a Mega Man game that I dislike. Doesn't matter if it's a spin-off. Like everything from Mega Man Soccer to Mega Man Battle Network, I enjoy. But the best for me is the mainline series, and that's the one I love the most.
Round one.
All right, so yes, there are 2 fighting game franchises on here, and I was considering putting the Marvel versus or Capcom versus series on here, but when I stopped and really thought about it, I had to include King of Fighters on here because I actually prefer the King of Fighters series to most Street Fighter series outside of Alpha. And a lot of that has to do with the characters. I find the characters in King of Fighters to be more interesting, better designed, more well thought out, more creative in their implementation of special moves. I love the idea that there's teams in this fighting tournament, that characters are connected beyond more than just knowing each other. Like, they actually unite and fight together. I think that's really clever, and I love the option, of course, to create your own team, because, I mean, who doesn't want a team with Duck King on it? But I think it's such an incredible series, and it's one that is carried forward for so long, and it's just something that SNK does incredibly well. I thoroughly enjoy the King of Fighters series, and I think it's probably the most balanced fighting series out there as well. I've loved it since the first time I played it. I love it to this day, and I just wish more people played it. I know it's huge in South America. I just wish it had as big of a presence here in the States.
You devil.
The first time I saw Uncharted was when my friend Nate showed me the trailer for Uncharted 2. I didn't know what I was expecting to see, but it wasn't a game that I was going to fall in love with that I had never played. I saw the trailer, and I was completely transfixed by the adventures of Nathan Drake. It was just something that worked for me, and I cannot tell you how incredible it was to finally play that series for the first time. I completely missed it on the PS3. I never played any of them. It was something I admired from afar and something that I desperately wanted to play, but I didn't get a PS3 until about 3 years after I had my PS4. And when I got my PS4, I made sure that the one I got was the Nathan Drake PS4, because I wanted to support that character and support Naughty Dog and experience that series. Now, that PS4 sucked, and I had to trade it in to get a Pro because it just crashed constantly, but it was one that I realized then that you can love a series without knowing much about it. And the more I played of Uncharted, the more I loved it and the more I enjoyed it. The first game in the series I played was Uncharted 4. I didn't actually play 1, 2, or 3 until the Nathan Drake collection released. And I've played Uncharted Lost Legacy, and I've played all the remasters, and I've played the originals now on the PS3, and I can say without hesitation that there's something special about the Uncharted series. I know for a lot of people, the landmark for Naughty Dog for them is going to be The Last of Us, and I find no fault in that. It's not a series for me, but it is something that I look at and I see the artistry behind it, and I understand why people adore it so much. But for a lot of the reasons that they love The Last of Us is the reason I love Uncharted. I love the story. I love the characters. The idea of finding a family and rediscovering a lost family with Uncharted 4 just speaks to me. It's such an unbelievable series, and it's something that I never tire of, and I never will. And yeah, there we have it. Uncharted at number 1 today. This could change tomorrow. It typically flip-flops between Ratchet and Clank and Uncharted, but Uncharted is number 1 for me right now, and I just love the series. There's just something special about it. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite series is, and if there are some conspicuous by their absence. If you guys have been around for a while, you know how much I love Zelda, you know how much I love Suikoden, but they just didn't measure up to the other games in this list today for some reason. And this could change tomorrow. Like I said, this changes frequently. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite video game series are. Let me know what your favorite one is that I had on today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe. If you really enjoyed it, consider becoming a Patreon member. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.